Thank you for joining us. We'll be started here in just a minute. Right, Alexis, you want to get us kicked off?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our session today, and thank you for joining us. My name is Alexis. I'm the Growth Marketing Manager at For Impact Data, where we built the Business Guidance System. It's a tech platform purpose-built for growing CAS. Today, we're going to be talking about how CAS leaders scale their revenue without more clients, and Elizabeth will be the main host here. I'll be helping her moderate. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A chat, and during the webinar, we'll be putting up some interactive polls for everyone to provide their input. You can raise your hand if you have a question as well, and we'll pause for a second while you type it. Feel free to let us know if you need us to slow down, and after the webinar, we'll send you an email with the link where the recording will be so you can watch it back. That email will also have a link to upcoming events and our LinkedIn profile, and we'd love to connect with you if we haven't already. With that said, I'll open the floor for Elizabeth.
Thanks, Alexis. Hey, again, thank you for joining us today. We'll be talking about scaling your CAS without adding additional clients. I'm Elizabeth Davis, Chief Growth Officer, recovering accountant. I've been serving the accounting and finance community for 25 years in different roles, from sitting in the seat to finding technology to fit the needs to grow teams and add bandwidth. So the CAS paradox, as we know it, is we all have numbers that we need to grow, but we don't know how to do it necessarily. So client advisory services is the fastest growing segment in the space. A lot of firms will go and look for clients outside of their firm, where the best place to look is inside your existing client base. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Outdated ways of growing include waiting for hand raisers, referrals, which is great. It's nice to have referrals, but it's not as great to wait for the reaction. I don't know how many times I've talked to firm leaders who have lost their clients because they went to get services somewhere else. So we want to systematize the growth of our client base as much as possible to increase the revenue per client, also increase our retention of our existing clients, and then we have happier, more satisfied clients and staff. So there's 3 stages of growth targeting in firms. We have the traditional stage, which is relationship-based and very reactive. So this, everyone has this. You have someone raise their hand and say, I really need help with this service. And that's how you grow into your advisory, outsource accounting, add controllership, CFO to your existing client base. It's ad hoc, it's reactive, and it's not scalable or dependable. And then we move on to the transitional stage, where we start to put intent in growing it. We have market-led, we have some segmentation, and then we can move on from there to a modern CAS maturity model. This is very data-driven, it's AI-backed, it's proactive. We're putting all the tools and technology in place so we can target our clients where they need the help the most. We'll dig in a second into what that looks like, but first, let's put up a quick poll. Did you get that poll up, Alexis?
Yep, it's running.
And if you find that you and your firm are in between 1 or 2 different stages, just pick the one that you think fits you best.
So it looks like most people are at stage 2, which is the transitional stage, intentional and marketing-led CAS growth. Elizabeth, what would you say can help move forward from the transitional stage to the modern stage?
Well, it really depends on the people, processes, and technology that are in place right there, like, because there's different levers you can pull to move to the modern depending on what you have in place. So, upskilling your staff to look for signals, putting technology in place that monitors your client base, um, having, AI powered insights, also making sure that you have your staff aligned for the right needs. If you know that you have a large client base that's professional services, aligning your staff specialize in that, and then target. And then also having, mature marketing and business development in place too, so that it's very data back driven and proactive in your outreach. So it depends on which pieces are in place and what still needs to happen for, sorry, it's a depends answer
Right.
there.
So you would
All right.
consider like a modern stage of CAS growth maturity to be completely bolstered with all of those resources.
Yeah, and we'll dig in the next 3 slides. We'll talk about stage 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll talk about how you can get there faster. So again, for stage 1, traditional approach, a lot of firms still have many factors of this in place. It's great to have reputation driven growth, right? But we want to make sure that we're being proactive. So it's relationship first, where you have the trust and connection driven. It's client initiated. Again, that's where you have your hand raisers. A challenge with that is, do your clients know that you offer the services they need if we're not proactively reaching out? And it's a localized scope. So it really is going to be based on the conversations that are held between your relationship managers, your partners that currently support that client, and the individual client. So it's not systematized. It depends on like what's top of mind in that conversation at a moment. You see this even in firms that are moved along to more the transitional or the modern. You'll see little pockets of this where you have relationship managers who will hoard their clients and are very protective, which I understand, but they're very protective and don't want other people to have conversations with them. It's important to keep in mind that different conversations, different perspectives open up opportunities. So it's good to allow that growth. It's hard to change the hearts and minds of partners that have been working in one way for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But it's good for the firm. You say what's good for the gander is good for the goose. And then you have your transitional, your stage 2, and this is where most of the people in this call are. And most of the firms I talk to are, a lot of times they're straddling stage 1 and stage 2, maybe with some pieces of stage 3 in place. So they have proactive growth marketing. They may have identified some of their ideal niches and they're putting marketing in place there. They're using CRMs, which are a great way to store information across different groups. So you can go into a CRM and you can see, okay, a tax partner had this conversation with a client, and a controllership group, outsource accounting group had this conversation, and put the pieces together to help grow that revenue stream, grow the service lines and value you are serving to your client. And again, that comes from really having that mind shift of going from reactive to being more proactive in the market. Another thing that's really important in this stage and sometimes is overlooked is identifying the clients that are no longer a good fit for your firm. And that can be hard because it's a lot of accountants have emotional attachments to their clients, which is great. But sometimes as we grow, we need to identify like, oh, we are no longer the best person. We're no longer the best firm to serve this segment, this client. We can always recommend them out to a firm that's a better fit, whether they've grown or we've grown as a firm. Sometimes we have to make shifts and adjustments, or it might be we identify there's a certain niche that we don't have the knowledge for, and they need a specialty firm to serve them. So it's being proactive. It provides for a better client experience and natural growth. And then we move on to stage 3, which is that modern advisory, really proactive, predictive CAS growth. So then we're looking to upskill our staff. We have predictive intelligence, and it's really transformative partnership with their clients. So this is where we become the true trusted advisor. They know about all the service lines that we can offer them. We have signals on their growth, whether we're doing account-based marketing. We'll talk about for impact data, how that highlights conversations that can be had, but not waiting for the phone to be picked up, putting some business development, marketing, and AI-driven signaling in place to reach out to our clients in a proactive manner and grow the value that we serve them with. So we become true trusted partners. And it's important to note that when we do this, retention skyrockets. It's a known fact that if you just have one service line with your client, it's very easy for them to leave. If you have 3 or more, much harder for them to leave you and move on to another firm. Also, when you're having these deeper conversations, your staff, your partners are more satisfied and fulfilled. So are your clients. We have any questions there?
No.
Okay. All right. So that's where we're moving from that reactive to the proactive world of CAS. So we have the old world again, which is growth happens accidentally. We might do some community outreach. That deep discovery takes hours. If we know we're having a conversation, compiling all of the data and preparing for the conversation is very time consuming. Impact is stifled by institutional knowledge held by a few partners. And then we also have the gap, the middle gap in there. And so this can really stifle growth. I hear this a lot when I'm talking to firms, where there's an upskilling gap where you're talking about growing your CAS team. There's the discovery, like we don't have the time. We're buried in transactional work. We have all the clients we can handle right now. Even if I were to get more, I wouldn't know what to do with them or have the time. So in the new world, growth is systematized and targeted. We put technology in place that automates as much of the transactional work as possible. We have predictive signals that surface opportunities. The knowledge is codified. So we have our SOPs in place, we have intelligence in place, and then we're leading to deeper conversations. We're upskilling our staff, and then we have the technology in place again to where we don't have to spend the hours to prepare for a client meeting, but at the click of a button, we can dig in deep and add value. So how do we get there? So the first thing we have to do is we have to connect to our existing base of clients and get our baseline, plug into the data, see the truth. What does our client mix look like? What are their revenue, the niches, the geographic locations, so that we can align and package and price. And this is, again, when we're putting technology in place, we have to move away from that time and billing based model to flat fee, fixed fee, and ideally value-based pricing. So you can tie to a value and tie to the revenue of your client. So when they grow, you grow. You know, we want to see between 1.5% and 3% revenue in our outsource accounting targeted for that value-based pricing. And then we add that targeted outreach and the pipeline boost. A lot of CPA firms are really uncomfortable talking about sales terminology. It can be very beneficial to have a growth leader in place, someone who's sales minded to help lead that, your growth and marketing. And then again, make sure you have the signal so you're calling the right clients first and at the right time. I don't know how many times I've done a customer sales, but how many times I've talked to a customer or a client and they needed something. We've ran campaigns. I know I've talked to them, but they'll say they didn't know we offered it. So you have to make sure that you're repeating the process over and over. I'll and then that takes us to the staff enablement. So we got to make sure that we scale brains, not bodies, so that we're scaling our staff to serve. Then I'll also say it's really important to make sure that we're doing the education internally to remind the partners who are outside of CAS on the services and values we offer to their clients, so that when the conversations do come up, they hear the trigger words and they can refer in. Even though we're doing targeted outreach, trusted relationship is always the best. And then this is like a constant re-education process, because we are going to make shifts in our CAS team, but people forget. So we have to remind them. It can be great to have a champion on another team. Make sure you're building them up, telling the stories of success when you do get referrals in, or you have grown one of your CAS clients. What was the value that was added? What was the win for the firm? And then build up partners that do refer in. And then on the staff enablement as well, as we automate the transactional work, we have to upskill our teams to make sure they can do those more value add, consultative, advisory, CFO conversations. And then we need to automate, optimize, and expand. So this is a reiteration process. Make sure we're documenting our wins, optimize whenever possible. We want to have the feedback loop, and then expand on that so that we can run our CAS team like a product. Okay, I think we have a poll up next. So in your practice or your area, are any of these challenges that you're currently facing, or what is your biggest challenge? Is it packaging, pricing? Is it staff enablement? If you've gone through and you feel like you have all these, are you struggling with automation and optimization? Would love to hear. We have results of that poll. Alexis?
Can you see these results?
I can't see the results. I just have my screen. So if you could call them out.
So it looks like most people, we have a mix of a little bit of all of it, but most people are struggling with number 5, automate, optimize, and expand,
Okay.
running advisory like a product.
It's a great place to be. If you've already connected and you have a baseline, you have your packaging and pricing in place. Again, we just want to make sure that we reiterate that we're revisiting this on a regular basis so that we are offering the best value to our clients, optimizing in our firm, and continue the process. All right. From here, we are going to take a look at For Impact data and how it can help across the different areas of the 5 steps to optimizing your CAS team. Okay, so I should be sharing my screen. Alexis, can you see the business health indicator?
Yes.
Okay, great. So at For Impact Data, we help with across those 5 areas. The first step is connecting and baseline. So one of the very unique factors at For Impact Data is we can pull in all of your QBO clients, all of your Xero, Sage Intacct, NetSuite clients into one heat map and show you the financial health of your clients across where you see liquidity, profitability, debt to equity, solvency, and sales activity. So something that's very unique to our software. And like, why does that matter? Most firms don't have this view, and it matters because they don't know which clients need service when, and so it's still very reactive, right? And again, if you have a very large firm, we can slice and dice it by group, by individual advisor. So that could be one of your CFOs, your practice lead. You could break it up by client and revenue. And then while we're talking about upskilling staff, any screen inside of Impact Data, there is a help that it'll talk through and answer questions about what is in the software. So I always like to bring that forward. From there, we want to be able to break up the demographics of this cross-functional section. I talk to some large firms that have done this work, but by and large, when I talk to firms, regardless if they're number 30 or 300, they really don't have this information, or took months to pull it together. And then as their client base changes, they still will have to struggle to update it. So in Impact Data, we pulled together the client demographics into one view. So you could see what industry niche are the largest grouping of my clients. And here it's professional services. And if I wanted to target my clients by revenue band, say I want to take a look at where my $10 million revenue clients are, I can slice them up that way and see they're very heavily manufacturing. Again, it's interactive, Power BI driven, so that it's very easy to understand. Then you're like, okay, that's great. But now, this will help put together my packaging and pricing, so I understand what my client mix is. But now I want to go ahead and be proactive in my outreach and targeting. So how do I group these clients by need, by growth, so that I can outreach proactively? So that is where we have built out the business personality profiles. So you can see like clients and cluster them together in a similar way so you can outreach to them in a proactive manner. So here we can see we have a large number of these workhorse clients. Their strengths are solvency, liquidity, debt to equity, but they really need help with their profitability and sales activity. Is this something we can engage with them? Are there characteristics that we can group them into to help have, again, to lead those conversations, to grow our CAS offering to them, to upskill the services, and to add more value? So our goal could be to restore more balance, launch working capital. But more importantly than that, we could see, okay, is there perhaps a group of clients in our base that we would have overlooked because they are growing rapidly, but perhaps they're lower in the revenue offering? But we could really target that 3% value based pricing with them, and it could be quite meaningful for both the client and to our firm, so that we can group them together and see, okay, they're doing great, or we can help them in a certain way. Again, so we can group them together, have that call list, and be proactive. And then on an individual basis, dig in and look at that client. Then we talk about upskilling our staff once we get to that, or to quickly get to the conversation details that we need to have on a client by client basis. For Impact Data, we have this advisor sheet here that has some key metrics, and then whether or not it is low risk or high risk, advice and action items. And one of the things I've seen a lot of firms doing to help systematize and optimize their processes as they're moving from transactional, upskilling their staff, growing their CAS, is they just add this to their checklist and they say, okay, are there any high risk items that we need to address? Raise your hand. We're going to bring it to a senior. We're going to make sure that we have a conversation about it both internally, and then we can escalate, talk about how to have a conversation, and then reach out to that client. But it helps get your transactional focused staff to look up and raise their hand and say, okay, we need to reach out. So it's good for the staff. It's also great for your clients, so you can help them stay in business and then also offer them additional services. All right, so that takes us back to our deck here. So again, for impact data, we're purpose built for CAS. We have that unique view of the client financial health scores, actionable insights, and empowered staff. So those are 3 triggers that we found are pretty common that help grow the CAS offerings. Do we have any questions before I move on, Alexis?
No, if you have any questions, raise your hand or leave it in the chat.
Okay. So again, to recap, we have the firm portfolio heat map with some AI insights that help you quickly dig into the conversation, answer questions for your staff, group your client portfolios by their demographics, and then the high level persona groupings so that you can segment your clients by conversation type that you need to have and align your offerings for proactive outreach to grow that value-based conversation to grow your ARR per client. And it's in a nice visual framework. And then also, once you are in a conversation on a per client basis, quickly get to the metrics that matter to those business owners. Have a checklist of, is this a high risk or low risk item? So you're upskilling your staff, save time, add value. And when it comes to that upskilling, again, AI powered business guidance gives you the next best action item in a time bound manner. So we have this patent pending dual hemisphere cognition at For Impact Data that really helps get to the crux that is auditable, so you can see, okay, why were we making these decisions? And then we can have efficiency gains, enable focus on learning, and then proven impact. So we've worked with teams like creative planning that saves hours before every CFO conversation, upskilling their staff to have more people who are prepared to have those conversations. And then again, like becoming more confident in our outreach. We're really moving from AI to that decision intelligence. So we elevate your team's impact, multiplying CAS effectiveness, and growing the knowledge inside the team. So we have continuous monitoring, continuous gain, and sustainable competitive advantage for your firm. And then along that, there are supporting tools. Of course, we have to talk about transactional work. So there's things like Artifact, AI, Basis, Flowcast that really help in that close process. Ignition helps automate proposals and renewals. Jump, which is an AI assisted call recorder. I think I see people who use Fathom. You want to import that into your CRM so you have your conversation intelligence, having CRMs in place, Zoom info to identify your account-based marketing signals so it goes beyond the proactive phone calls, but are your clients looking for services? And when you integrate the different tools, it really changes the game for the way you grow your CAS. All right. Did you have another poll, Alexis?
I just have a closing poll.
Okay. And that wraps us up and brings us to the end. So if you want to put up your closing poll and talk about upcoming events.
Okay, the poll is up, and we have a webinar on March 19th. It's hosted by our CEO, Eric Ager, from AI to Decision Intelligence. So that speaking topic is basically talking about how you can't necessarily rely on AI, but using a decision intelligence framework or the principles of decision intelligence, you can engage in that targeted advisory for your clients. We are also attending BDO Evolve in May and AI CPA Engage in June, and we hope to see you there. And Elizabeth, you have some upcoming lunch and learns, right?
Yes, we're also launching a CAS Lunch and Learn series where we'll be highlighting the cool things different firms are doing, different technologies, offshore staff providers to explore, things to align around the growth of your CAS practice. We're starting those at the end of March. And so we'll have those up so you can join them, add them all to your calendar, or they'll be Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, or join the ones that make sense for you and your team. All right, so we thank you for joining us. We hope you found something useful in today's discussion. We have PowerPoint available if you would like that to review. Happy to have a conversation with your team about how we can help you target growth inside your existing client base, upskill your staff, and augment your current offerings with your clients. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.